Hi everyone, my name is Matt. I'm the Youth and Family Pastor of Cornerstone Church in Marshfield. I'm here today with your Cornerstone Connection, a daily devotional. As we begin, I have a question for you. Has God ever told you no? Has God ever told you no? Some of you are like, well, of course, Matt. In the Bible, there's a lot of things that God tells me not to do. That's not what I mean. Have you ever been going about life and maybe you made a plan to do something and you thought, man, this is a good plan. And as you're making this good plan, you're going, this is a very godly plan. This is a God-honoring plan. This is something I want to do for God. And yet some way, somehow, whether it was him speaking to you by his Holy Spirit, or maybe through other people, or through circumstances, doors were closed. And he told you no. My question for us today is we jump into Acts chapter 16 and we watch God tell Paul no. My question for us today is, what do we do when God says no? What does it mean when God says no, and how should we respond? Well, join me in Acts chapter 16. Let's go to verse 1, and let's see what's happening as Paul and his team are continuing their missionary journey. It says, Paul came also to Derbe and to Lystra. A disciple was there named Timothy, the son of a Jewish woman who was a believer, but his father was a Greek. He was well spoken of by the brothers at Lystra and Iconium. Paul wanted Timothy to accompany him, and he took him and he circumcised him because of the Jews who were in those places, for they all knew that his father was a Greek. As they went on their way through the cities, they delivered to them for observance the decisions that had been reached by the apostles and elders who were in Jerusalem. So the churches were strengthened in the faith, and they increased in numbers daily. So far, so good, right? Verse 6. And they went through the region of Phrygia and Galatia, having been forbidden by the Holy Spirit to speak the word in Asia. And when they had come up to Mysia, they attempted to go into Bithynia, but the Spirit of Jesus did not allow them. That's 2 times now. So passing by Mysia, they went down to Troas, and a vision appeared to Paul in the night. A man of Macedonia was standing there, urging him, Paul, and saying, "Come over to Macedonia and help us." And when Paul had seen the vision, immediately we sought to go on into Macedonia, concluding that God had called us to preach the gospel to them. So that's where I'm going to pause in Acts chapter 16 today. And as I read that and I think about Paul and his team considering where they were going to go and take the gospel next. They had a couple of different plans, right? They had Phrygia, and then they had Bithynia, and their plan was good. It was godly. It was obedient to the Great Commission to go and make disciples of all nations, right? And to bring the gospel to these different places. And yet, some way, somehow, God stopped those plans. He blocked those pathways into those places to share the gospel. And sometimes when that happens, we ask, well, why, God? I'm trying to do something that you call me to do. Why in the world are you stopping me from doing it? Well, I'm sure if you've ever had that sort of situation in your own life, you've learned that when God says no, it's often the answer of not yet. That, Paul, I'm not going to have you go to these places yet and share the gospel. The gospel will get there, but not yet. And sometimes what God is doing is he's not just saying a blanket no, but he's saying not you. Maybe somebody else will take the gospel to these different places that certainly need Jesus. And friends, here's the thing, is when God answers with a no, or a not yet, or not you, that can be really difficult to receive, right? I wonder what Paul was feeling in those moments. I wonder what he was feeling as he went down to Troas and as he went to bed that night. I wonder if he was frustrated, confused, wondering, God, what in the world? Why can't we take the gospel to these places? And then God sends a vision. He brings a man in this vision and says, Paul, I want you right now at this moment, I want you to go down to this place, across the sea to a different continent. And it reminds me of Proverbs 19:21 that says, for many are the plans of man's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. And it reminds me, friends, that when it comes to obeying Jesus and obeying the Great Commission to go and make disciples of all nations, we still need to be open-handed. We still need to be trusting God that he is going to direct our path, that his purpose will prevail and prevail under his sovereignty, under his plan. And Paul certainly, if he hadn't already, he was learning that in Acts chapter 16 and his fellow teammates as well. And friends, maybe you need to learn that. Maybe you need to be reminded of that. I know I often do. I need to be reminded that when God says no, I also need to remain faithful, as Paul and his team will continue to be faithful in Acts 16, and go and do the next yes. What is the next yes? And trust God with that next yes, and be faithful to it, and trust that God will take maybe me at a different time or others to that place where I thought I was supposed to go and do the thing I was supposed to do. Friends, when God says no, maybe it's just not yet. Maybe it's not you. But let me encourage you. Be faithful with the next yes. Have a great day, friends. We'll see you next time on the Cornerstone Connection.